Well, you have a new book, and I want to talk about that in a little bit. But I also want to talk about you as a woman, as a journalist, as an author now, as a pilot, as a mom, and obviously a fiance. You've done so many things in your career, and I think it's wonderful for a woman to do that. But also, you've had some bumps along the road.
A lot of bumps.
Talk to me a little bit about your childhood.
Well, I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was not a good student in school. In fact, I was the worst, I would say. School wasn't for me, but I was a quiet kid. So they kind of just moved me. I was polite to my teachers, and they kind of just moved me along in the school system. I didn't know what I was going to do out of high school. In my head, I was like, I'm going to be a journalist. I had no idea why, but because I felt I couldn't read that well, but it was just something I wanted to do. Do you remember Connie Chung?
Yeah, of course.
She was the only minority on the air. There was no Latinas on the air. It was just Connie Chung. So I looked to her and I was like, well, she can do it. I can do it. I moved to LA, floundered a little bit, and then wandered into a community college. Couldn't afford a regular college. There was no way. And community college was really inexpensive. And I got lucky. I enrolled into a journalism class, and this one teacher saved me. I really wanted to write. She goes, do you want to write for the school paper? And I was like, oh, no, I can't. This was just for fun to see if I could, maybe do it. She goes, no, write without worrying about punctuation or spelling. And I turned it in the next day. And I turned it in, and it was a mess. I thought it was a mess. And she read it right in front of me. And she goes, no, you couldn't write. She's like, you're not dumb. You can't spell.
And so this is the thing. You thought for a while growing up that you were actually dumb.
Oh, I didn't learn. I thought I was dumb. I mean, by the way, I was told that. Do you know what I mean? Teachers were like, ugh, you don't get this. I mean, like since I was in the second grade, teachers made fun of me because I couldn't read the clock. And so after that, you just retreat. You know what I mean? You don't put yourself out there. And
you had undiagnosed dyslexia.
Yes. Until I was 19. So I was 19 years old. And that's why it's so important for parents to read to their kids so that they can see it. That you can tell. As a parent, you're like, is my kid on the same? And it's okay if they don't read like all the other kids. Yes. It's really okay. It's a learning difference. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. Nothing. But as a little kid growing up thinking you're dumb, you just kind of get small.
And I think that that's one of the main messages, at least it's the first message that I picked up as I was reading the book. So now I want to talk about your phase as a pilot, and tell me a little bit about why you decided to go that route. That's why
it's interesting, right? Well, my dad is a pilot, so there was some interest always in it because my father was a pilot. But I was on a morning show. I got done at 10 a.m. And as you can tell, I'm a little goal-oriented. So I was like, what am I going to learn next? I was like, I'm going to learn how to fly just for fun. And so after work at 10 a.m., I got a flight instructor and I learned how to fly. And then I said, well, there's a business here. There's not very many female pilots. Only 3% of pilots are female. It's growing now, but there's no reason that women can't be pilots. And then I started an aviation filming company. And we filmed for a bunch of movies. And it was really a lot of fun. And I still fly today. I don't focus as much on the business because now I'm more focused on the book and philanthropy. So, I mean, as you know, we have the Bezos Earth Fund, which is $10 billion commitment for climate.
And you're very involved.
I'm the vice chair, extremely involved. I think that we are going to be able to invent our way out of this. We have incredible minds at the Bezos Earth Fund working on this. And, it's a big issue that's going to take, a lot of effort from everyone. But we really are getting there. There's so many ways that we're inventing to help us get out of this climate crisis. And the other thing I'm so proud of is the Courage and Civility Award. And it's $100 million every year to people that are not just courageous, but are also civil. And as you know, Eva Longoria was our recipient last year. And she is so remarkable and empowering, and she really elevates the Latin community.
When you started in television and then with everything else that you wanted to do, not only were you a minority as a woman, but also a double minority as a Latina, you know, I've been in the same situation. So at that time, what were some of the hurdles that you had to cross?
Do you have time?
Yes.
It was an interesting time. I mean, I was like the only female news anchor doing Monday through Friday. There was a lot of, Latinas on the weekends. So it was a big deal for me. And I was young. I was very young at the time. I think I was 26. And I also had dyslexia. So it was not easy for me. You know, I got slammed a little bit. They thought I dressed a little bit too much. And I was like, I'm just dressing Latina. Like, this is just how we dress.
What did they tell you?
What type of hair you're wearing? They said, you need to tone it down. Yeah. I got it. But, I get it. It was a different time. But one time I wore hoop earrings.
Did you tone it down?
Of course, I listened to them, but then I went back, you just kind of revert back, and then I made it my own. I just no, I feel comfortable in this outfit, and people just got used to me.
And talk to me a little bit about what you want to do now. I know you're going to go into space.
Yes.
And that is quite amazing. This is another huge hurdle that you're going to cross. I mean, because you're not an astronaut.
No,
so tell me how you're preparing for all of this.
But I'm going to be an astronaut.
You are?
Yes, you become an astronaut. So it's very exciting. You go all the way to the Kármán line. I'm taking a remarkable group of explorers. I don't even like to say female explorers. I just like to say explorers, but it is
Exploradoras.
Exploradoras. That was say it one more time.
Exploradoras.
Exploradoras.
Yes.
Not bad. Okay, see,
that's a tough one.
I'll get there.
You'll get there.
And the reason I'm taking, all females is because I think sometimes when we think of explorers, we think of men. Jacques Cousteau, Magellan, Neil Armstrong. Yeah. But women are also explorers. And so I want to take this remarkable group of women so that people can see them as explorers and they can come back and tell their story about how it changed them.
I'm an adult. I read the book, but I thought, it's never too late to dream that dream and to be like, I can actually do this. And I think this is what you've done too. Yes, you've been a journalist, Emmy Award winner, and then a pilot, and then now you're going to space, and you're getting married again. There's so many other things that puts life into perspective. Like, we can still do things.
Of course, it doesn't end. I like to think of life as we have this so much time. Go do it. It doesn't matter your age. What matters is that energy inside you, and just go work hard. Do you know what I mean? When you go out there and you kind of, put your mind to something, it takes time. Nothing's ever easy. And if you fail, it's okay too. And we fail. And that's part of learning.
Exactly.
We learn more from our failures than we do our accomplishments, I think.
Absolutely. And I want you to speak specifically to the Latina women that are watching you and they're like, well, it's easy for her because she has this and this and this and this.
I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
They haven't seen your journey, and this is why it's so important for people to hear that.
I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My grandmother was a housekeeper. She would wake up at 5 a.m. to go clean a house. And I would sometimes stay at her house because my mom was also an extremely hard worker. And so I'd have to stay at her house.
Abuelita's house.
See, and my grandmother would wake me up at 5 a.m. and sleep in the back of her car. But it was very safe. This is a very small town. There was nothing, bad about this. Well, she cleaned her first house. And then she worked at a restaurant where she managed. She was one of the hardest workers I've ever known. And I got that from her. And, sometimes I'd wake up, when she'd go clean the house, and I'd walk in and she'd teach me how to fold laundry, how to do the laundry, how to clean. And she told me one day, she goes, well, you're going to need to learn how to do this because this is what you're going to do. And I don't think I want to do this. I was a young girl. And she goes, why? She goes, this is the greatest job. She goes, I get to make someone's life easier. And she loved what she did. And she wasn't embarrassed. So I learned that from her. And
She was incredible. So for the women and the young ladies that are watching, what would be, I think they want to be like Lauren, or they just want to be spoken of at some point in their life. What would you tell them to do?
Be curious, wander, and be relentless.
After this space mission, what's next for Lauren?
Oh, there's so
I'm sure
much.
you're dreaming about something. Tell me a little bit.
There's a lot going on. You know, I'm getting married.
Yes.
So I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to that. I get to spend the rest of my life with the most amazing man. I think he's incredible. And I say this all the time. I love him for so many reasons, mostly because of the way he loves my children. I mean, he's just... can you tell? I'm very in love.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You know what? People don't hear that enough.
Yeah.
That part of the story. And it's so important for women, once you have children, for that person to love.
Of course. I mean, my children are the most important things in the world to me, and he loves them like his own. And it's magic. It's just magic.